Welcome everyone, I am the Esperanto243. This is a book reading for Halloween. Yes, I know it's not Halloween day, but I think I prefer doing it but I normally do my readings week by week rather than daily or anything like that. Which I know is weird, but it's what I can handle, at least for this particular channel. My other channel, I do daily videos. Even that's hard. Today we are reading a book, not in its entirety. I'm only going to be reading certain parts of it, considering this is just for Halloween. The book I am reading is called Not a Family Trait. It's actually a really good book, and I actually had a lot of fun working on it. What inspired me to write Not a Family Trait is this TV show Ghost Whisperer. If you're not familiar with that, then, well, you probably lived a better life. Ghost Whisperer is a really dramatic show, and it centers on a woman who marries a firefighter. And she kind of goes into the antiquity business, mainly because of her, basically because of her ability, which is to see and talk to ghosts. It's a great show, and, I guess in the past 3 or 4 years, I thought of what it would be like if a girl not younger than her, but, I thought, what if a girl gains the ability not from her heritage? Because according to the show, Melinda Gordon got her ability through her ancestors. I don't even remember what the first woman was of her bloodline that got the ability, but I know for a fact that her grandma has it and her mom has it. But her mom can't see the ghosts, she can hear them, which is interesting. But that's basically what the show is about. Sort of. The story progresses with each season. Gets a little more twisted and dramatic, super dramatic. But that's not what my book is about. My book is about a young girl named Melissa Garrison. She actually gets her ability the night she turns 11. So yeah, it's a pretty young age, so it's actually a really interesting book. As I said, it's about a girl who turns 11. Her name is Melissa Garrison. And the one thing I forgot to do was print out the description that I have for it. Let me just check if the description I have on my radio show is different from the one that I've written before. So, just give me 1 second. Alright, it turns out it is different, but since my printer is not fully connected to my computer, I can't really print it out and read it to you guys. So I'm going to be looking at my screen a lot so that I can make it really big and able for me to read it from the seat right here. Okay, so again, bear with me for just one more split second. Okay, here we go. Loosely inspired by Ghost Whisperer, this story is of a young girl who must deal with a newly gained skill. This, of course, happened when the ghostly form of her mother brings her back to life from a death-defying experience. Melissa Garrison has to deal with all the ghosts she sees, even the dangerous ones. How unfortunate she must go through this alone. After all, it was not a family trait. What I'm going to be doing is reading just certain parts of it, parts that can be considered scary for her. I'm not going to be doing it from the reader's perspective. I'm going to be doing it from the character's perspective, if you can understand that. Because if I do it from the reader's perspective, it's going to be what I consider scary. But it needs, for it to be Halloween themed, I need it to be scary for the character, not for the reader. Do you understand that? Alright, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. I understand it though, so anyways, let's go ahead and get to the reading, shall we? Alright, so this scene is basically Melissa seeing someone that she shouldn't be. who happens to be a ghost. Her face fell in shock when her baby sisters started cooing and giggling. She saw Morin, her mom, making funny faces at them. "Is your daddy not watching?" Morin squeaked happily. "Isn't he the cutest when he worries?" "Mama." "That's all they seem to say now," Quinn sighed. "I think I know why," Melissa whispered, staring at her mom. Morin didn't notice, nor did she hear her. "Mom?" Her body then flashed like a TV screen before popping in front of Melissa. Morin gave her big, surprised eyes. "You can see me?" she squeaked hoarsely. Melissa nodded slowly. "How? Dad?" "Yes?" He turned to her, still holding one of the babies. "Are you all right? You look like you've seen a ghost." Paige and Piper laughed excitedly. "Go to bed, Melly Belly. You got practice tomorrow." "Yes, Daddy," she whispered. Alright, so this next scene is of Melissa and her mom talking. And it's basically her mom crossing over into the light. And I kind of drag it on pretty long, the whole scene, I mean, to when she goes to school and learns of something that her mom told her about, and she has to deal with people not believing in ghosts. So here we go. Melissa nodded as her mom smiled. Morin glanced away from her and saw something. "Wow," she whispered in awe. "What?" Melissa asked, looking in the same direction. "I don't see anything." Morin glanced back at her dearly. "I love you, Melissa. Tell your brother and Kyla the same, and to look out for each other. And it's also time for you to see Grandma. Your dad will understand when you tell him." As she walked off, she blew her a kiss. "Wait, the dream! I told you that you weren't ready. And now I see why. Save them, sweetie. Help them make peace like you did with me." She smiled while a tear rolled down her cheek. "I'm so proud of you." As she faded away, her words echoed. Melissa's eyes were wide. She saw her mom leaving. "Don't leave me," she whispered. Morin did, going into the light to cross over. Melissa never wanted to believe it. She thought it couldn't happen. Numbly, she walked to her room and slipped under the blanket. Melissa scrunched her knees to her chest, crossed her arms around them, and cried. Tears poured from her eyes. She cried herself to sleep. The next morning, she never felt so empty. Her mom was really gone. She wouldn't see her anymore. The thought terrified her even more than the funeral of her mother. It made her want to stay under the covers and not come out. Melissa acted like a robot. She moved when needed, hardly ever answered when a teacher picked her. It worried the teachers and her friends. They wanted to know what caused her to be like that. "Did something happen at home, dear?" the principal asked. "Is your father hurting you in any way?" That snapped Melissa into place. Her neck turned so abruptly that it popped. Her eyes wide in shock. "No, he would never," she whispered hotly. "Dad would never hurt me." "Then what is going on, Miss Garrison?" It stayed quiet for a few minutes before Melissa replied. "I saw my mom." "I'm sorry to say, my dear, but your mom is dead." "I know," she whispered. "But I saw her. And I don't know why or how, but I did." "Melissa, that's not funny." "How is it funny?" She looked her principal in the eyes. "Mom spoke to me. Said she knew why I have trouble in English." "Oh, really?" Her principal raised a brow. You know, your English teacher has told me that your grade is slipping. I was wondering what you could tell me about it. Melissa ignored that. She continued what she intended on saying. When my mom brought it up, she said she had the same trouble too. She shook her head lightly. That it was something that ran in the family. It was a weird name too. Sexy? Dyslexia? The principal corrected. Melissa gasped and nodded fervently. Do you know what that is, Miss Garrison? Not really, no, she said, shaking her head. While she looked down, the principal sighed. Melissa narrowed her brows at the woman. It is a reading disorder. Your brain has trouble recognizing and processing certain symbols and letters. Dyslexia has become a very common disorder these days. With your dad's permission, I'd like to do some tests. Make certain if you do have dyslexia. You don't believe me? But my mom... You must have been dreaming, Miss Garrison, she said abruptly. Your mom, rest her soul, is dead. There is no way you could have seen her. Ghosts are not real, and certainly zombies are not real either. The principal sent her back to class. By lunchtime, half her student class had spread rumors. A student overheard the principal talking to her secretary. Is it true? Is it true? Luna rushed after sitting next to Melissa. What? That you have a disability, Cheyenne said, sitting down as well. Disability? What are you talking about? Her brows narrowed. That will be a condition that limits someone's movements, senses, or activities, Terry explained as he sat with the girls. I had to look it up. Melissa glanced at him. What does that even mean, Terry? She lightly shook her head. My uncle has dyslexia, Cheyenne said. Luna snorted. Yeah, and doesn't your aunt have some sort of other? Luna brought up. Autism, and those two are completely different disabilities. Mom and Dad make sure I learn all kinds of things about the big bad world. What's so bad about it? Luna asked. We get to watch Disney and Nickelodeon Kids. I'm in heaven. Melissa rolled her eyes. Heaven? Really? She scoffed. I'd rather be outside than watch TV. It's so boring. Melissa went back to eating her lunch. That afternoon, when she got home from soccer practice, she heard her father calling for her. She headed to the study and bumped into her nanny. They said hello to each other before she continued to Quinn's study. Hey, Melly Belly. I got a call from your principal today. Yeah, Daddy? I need to talk to you about your mother. And I need to talk to you about English. What about my mother? Well, what about your English class? He asked with narrowed brows. He pulled himself closer to his table, facing her. Dad! Your principal told me that you saw Maureen, your mother. He observed her as she nodded honestly. Quinn scoffed and sighed. That's not possible, sweetie. I saw her, Dad. She was in the hall upstairs. She told me about the trouble she had, too. What trouble? He narrowed his brows, but for a split second. You know what? No. She couldn't have been in the house, Melissa. Maureen has been dead for 6 months. It's not possible. I saw her. Quinn sighed heavily. He glared at her. Melissa! She crossed her arms stubbornly. He scoffed in frustration. Tell me about the English class. I've been having trouble with it for a while. She gulped nervously. The letters keep switching on me. Principal wants me to do tests for dyslexia. She saw her dad close his eyes. What? Your mom had the same thing. Melissa said nothing. She didn't like making her dad angry, which hardly ever happened. All right, I'll talk to the principal about it. He rubbed his forehead. Go on now, I'm getting a headache. Alright, so this next scene... a lot of info, huh? This next scene is of Melissa getting ready for bed, and she actually gets to experience a vision. Now, if you're not familiar with visions, it's basically psychic visions. It's kind of like psychic visions of like the future or the past or whatever. It's basically where if you touch an object or if someone has a strong enough energy, you immediately get to see what a memory of the past, a memory of the past, whether it be recent, whether it be like 20 years ago, or whether it be something recent, something that is affecting them in their life. And that's kind of that doesn't really happen in this particular scene, but it's something similar to that vision, and it scares Melissa. She concentrated on brushing her teeth. Melissa didn't pay attention to the steam rising from the bathroom sink, not until it fogged her mirror. Her eyes widened in shock and fright when Angel's energy rubbed the mirror. Note spelled out on the steam-covered mirror. In shock, Melissa coughed on the leftover toothpaste in her mouth and spat what was left. When she glanced back at the mirror, the message and steam had disappeared. She gulped with shaking nerves. "Creepy," she whispered. Melissa cleaned out her mouth and then left the bathroom. As she walked out, Angel showed up in front of the sink, staring after her. His dirty blonde hair was tangled, and the dirty face blended with his dark hazel eyes. His eyes filled with pleading panic. "Give," he whispered hotly. Melissa stopped, thinking she heard something. She turned to him, and after seeing Angel, she screamed. Melissa ran from him to her bedroom. "Melissa?" Kyler called, knocking on Melissa's door. "Are you all right? I thought I heard a scream." It took a few moments before she said anything to her. "Come in," she whispered. Kyler didn't hear it very well, but she figured that's what Melissa said. She sat on the bed next to her. "What happened?" "I saw something. It scared me." She glanced at Kyler. "I don't understand. How did he appear like that?" "Who, Mel? Who are you talking about?" "I don't know. I don't know his name. I didn't ask. He scared me." "What did he look like?" It confused the nanny of what Melissa talked about. She tried to understand as best as she could. "Tall, dirty, panicked, scary," she whispered. She shook her head. "I wish Mom were here." I'm actually not sure if I want to read this one. I mean, I printed out a lot of pages of this book, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get all of them in here. I should have said that earlier, but I was kind of in a rush. Yeah, I think I'm going to take that out. So I'll just go ahead and read the next scene, which is not much either. I cut out a part of that too, because it was just way too long. But this next part is of her talking to a ghost that she led from her school to home. She actually kind of likes him, and she's trying to help him get to a certain property that he's searching for, which happens to be property that her grandma lives on. So, before they're able to go to her grandma's, this happens like the day before she does go to her grandma's, but they talk for a little bit in her bedroom, and something happens. She actually gets really scared. So let's go ahead and see if this scares you as well. "What was that?" Lloyd wondered. His brows narrowed. Their ears perked. Thud! Hot steam rose from the bottom of her bedroom door. When she felt heat pressing on her skin, Melissa's mouth dropped. The steam increased the temperature in her room. "Stop! You're scaring me," she whispered. Her face flushed as her heart pounded faster. Melissa whimpered. "Stop!" she whispered hotly. She closed her eyes. "Kyler," she muttered. Lloyd narrowed his brows. He couldn't see or feel anything. He knew something was wrong. They didn't know Angel gave her a vision, but he knew she was scared. After Lloyd heard her mutter her nanny's name, he knew what to do. With a thought, his ghostly form blinked out of the room, and to Kyler and her friends. There is more to this scene of where he actually gets to experience the energy that he can use to affect the real world. It's interesting how it happens, but again, that scene is more of a reader's perspective of scary rather than Melissa's point of view scary. Alright, so this next scene is of Melissa just seeing more ghosts, and the way they approach her is just not normal. She doesn't see it as normal, and it scares her again. It's this kind of situation scares her. She doesn't know what to do. So her dad is there, and so is her nanny. Her nanny actually knows about the ghosts, so she's trying to comfort her, but her dad is super confused. So let's see how it goes. "They're coming to you," Lloyd whispered hotly. He blinked out of sight. Melissa didn't seem to get what he meant. "What did he say?" Kyler asked. Melissa shrugged, shaking her head. Kyler was about to continue, but Melissa glanced around. "What's wrong?" "I don't know," she whispered. "But I thought I felt... something's different." She got off her bike and continued looking around. Before Quinn turned the corner and saw them, a bunch of ghosts, young and old, appeared and walked to Melissa. "Help me," they kept saying. "You have to tell them." The ring of ghosts surrounding her reached for Melissa. They asked for so many random things, and their voices overlapped. She didn't like the ghosts were doing that to her. Her eyes widened in shock while she turned her body around, eyeing every one of them. Each one had something different about their afterlife features. "Melissa?" Kyler spoke. The turning worried her nanny, not to mention the frenzied expression Melissa had. Kyler came up to her. "Stop," Melissa said. Her hands cupped her head. "It hurts. Stop it." She gulped in fear. "I never wanted this. Leave me alone." Kyler winced and wrapped her arms around Melissa, preventing her from turning again. Her father didn't understand. All he and the nanny could see was her turning around in fear and panic. Thankfully, Kyler's wrapped arms stopped the turns. She looked at Quinn. They exchanged confused expressions. "I think she should get to her grandma's sooner than later." "What's happening to her?" he asked, startled. Kyler shook her head, no doubt disappointed Melissa didn't tell him. The 11-year-old girl whimpered. "She's not feeling good, Quinn." She remembered what Melissa told her. "She has to go to her grandma's. I believe Morin would say it's time." Kyler's eyes grew a bit bigger as they filled with reason and concern. Quinn scoffed with realization. "Of course, she's at that age for that kind of stuff, isn't she?" "Quinn!" Meanwhile, the ghosts wouldn't stop. They kept reaching for Melissa, even while Kyler held her close. Their overlapping voices grew louder, making her groan loudly. "Stop it! It's too much!" Melissa lowered her head on Kyler's shoulder. She wrapped her arms around her in a tight hug, almost as if cowering. "Make them stop! Make them stop!" she whimpered. Holding her close, Kyler lifted her and carried her to the house, walking around the corner. Holding her close, Kyler lifted her and carried her to the house, walking through the crowd of ghosts. At a loss for words, Quinn reluctantly took Melissa's bike and put it on their front lawn. He wasn't sure whether to ask his daughter about what happened. When they walked off, the ghost stopped and stared. They stared at Melissa until she turned the corner. 2 by 2, the ghosts disappeared in the blink of an eye. Melissa's headache decreased when she entered her bedroom. She thanked Kyler for taking her away from them. Then Annie faintly smiled, caressing her hair. And now I have that line stuck in my head. 2 by 2, hands of blue. Sorry, I'm a huge Firefly nerd. As you can tell by the shirt. This was actually designed by Jane Spenson. I can't remember if she did wardrobe or something else for the show. Can't remember. Anyways. Distraction complete. Alright, so what happens in this next scene? More visions from Angel. Alright. She's actually at her grandma's. She calls her Mama. I guess because she couldn't pronounce the word grandma when she was younger than 11. So, this is actually a pretty frightening one, both for her and the reader, so it's going to be an interesting read. Floating around his energy, Angel watched her swim. His frustration grew, causing the temperature to rise again. Melissa gaped and turned around constantly to try to find him. She should have hurried to the little steps Mama had built, after buying the estate, of course, but she didn't. The temperature continued to increase. Steam rose from the lake, surrounding her. "Stop!" she whispered in panic. "It hurts!" Her arms flailed while the hot lake hurt her skin. It didn't occur to her to swim toward the steps. She just kept kicking her legs and flailing her arms. Melissa knew if she didn't, her body would sink. The temperature rose even more, making her cry. "Stop!" As her arms flailed, the hot water splashed on her head and face. "Stop it!" Yards away, Grandma Burke heard her cries. Her brows narrowed but for a split second. She then realized another ghost must have found her. Mama stood while dropping a trowel. She ran to the lake as fast as she could. When she arrived, she panicked. Nothing seemed to be in the lake, but she saw something sinking to the bottom. It took her a moment to squint her eyes. That's when she realized it was Melissa sinking. With such a light weight, Melissa didn't have much buoyancy. Grandma Burke slipped off her shoes and gardening gloves. On the last shallow step, she dove in. The water was super cold, but not to Melissa. Melissa stayed in the vision Angel put her in, the lake's hot temperature on her skin, still kicking and flailing her arms. It scared her and Mama. Mama grabbed the shoulder strap of the swimsuit. She swam to the surface before going to the steps. After moving Melissa to the grass, she stared at her in confusion and shock. The moment they surfaced, Melissa continued her cries of fear and pain. The movements she did in her vision even happened outside of it. She would unknowingly hit her grandmother. Melissa's eyes darted in every direction. Okay, and this is the last scene I'm going to be reading to you guys. Goodness, this is a lot. I'm really glad I decided to cut out some of the other scenes, because this video is going to be super long. Alright, so this last scene I'm going to be reading to you guys, it's yet again Angel visiting her, except she's finally found someone in the family that note that was brought up in one of the earlier scenes. She actually had that note and she brought it with her to Mama's because she knew she needed to find someone in that family that was mentioned in the note. And she did. Well, technically not true. She hasn't found it yet, but this guy that she's met, along with the author of a book, along with this author that she met, well, I'll just let the scene go on. I'll let you guys find out what's going on with this. Do you know where I can find him? Melissa asked with an eager look. She sat on the edge of her chair, her big eyes filled with curiosity and anticipation. He saw her reaction and wondered what made her so interested in the family. I'm not sure, he said, shaking his head. At that moment, Angel appeared next to him. He saw Mr. Hurst's face. Oh, Angel looked angry. His glare moved to Melissa. When she saw him, blood drained from her face. Not again, she whispered. He's lying, Angel hissed abruptly. Look at his hesitating face. He glared at Mr. Hurst once more. His anger caused steam to rise from the 2 glasses of water. While the 3 watched what happened, water evaporated quickly. Liz, Sally? Melissa called. I see it, Melissa, she whispered. It's not a vision, my friend. Vision? What are you talking about? How is this happening? Mr. Hurst demanded in fright. Thomas, are you sure you don't know where he lives? Lizzie asked, worried Angel might do more. What does that have to do with the steam? Oh gosh, it's getting hot, he said, waving his face. Trust us, Thomas. Just tell us where he is. I have important information for him. Why? He just wants to be alone, he asked, as his face turned red from the steam. It has to do with his past. Something about a drastic action his family took. All right, fine, he's... Mr. Hurst gulped in hesitation. He's right here, a gruff voice spoke. Mr. Wu entered the living room. What drastic action are you talking about? His eyes widened when he saw the steam filling the living room. What the... Mr. Wu, could we talk in private? Thomas might not want to hear what I have to say. Before saying anything, Mr. Wu observed her. What does a young girl like you have to do with my family? He asked. His brows narrowed. Melissa smiled nervously. What? I'd answer, but I don't know how Thomas would react. Mr. Wu gave her a confused expression. Please, sir, we need privacy for this conversation. At that point, everyone had turned red from Angel's steam. He wouldn't calm down. He still acted angry that Mr. Hurst lied. Melissa didn't know what to do without warning Mr. Hurst about ghosts. The heat from his steam made her feel faint. Melissa, are you all right? Lizzie asked. She walked up to her. She placed a hand on her arm. Goodness, you're burning far worse than us, she whispered. It's 'cause he's still angry. The scary man didn't like that Thomas lied, Melissa whispered. I don't know. And that's where I cut the scene. I should have put more from that, but I didn't. Goodness, guys. Alright, so that's it for this video. Man, that was intense. I really do hope I chose the right scenes. 'Cause, again, I wanted the fear factor come from Melissa's point of view rather than the reader's point of view. I want it to be scary enough for you guys to be concerned for her. And, well, again, that's the thing. That's the reader's perspective. That's the reader's point of view, not Melissa's. I tried to use the scenes where Melissa is scared for her life rather than the reader's being scared for her life. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so I really do hope you guys liked the reading. And if you want more, if you want to hear the entire book, go ahead and hit that like button or comment down below. I did read this book on my radio show. If you'd rather listen to it on my radio show, that is fine. I will put a link of my radio show channel in the description box below. If you don't want to go through the long lists of the long list of shows that I've done, Again, put a comment down below and let me know. That way I can go ahead. I mean, I don't want to do it right away, like for it to be in the description box below. But if you guys want the actual links to each show that I've done for those readings, go ahead and comment down below, let me know, and I will give you guys the links personally. Well, wait, I don't know how to do that. But I will put those links. I will do research and figuring out which episodes are the readings, and I'll put them in the description box. So, again, I hope you all like the book. If not, well, you have your own tastes in books. I'm not going to reject that. I respect it. That's fine. To each his or her own. So, next week is going to be The Rat Prophecy, which is a sequel in a series I call The Adventures of a Mermaid. There's 4 books. I'm only going to be reading 3 of them, because one of them I still don't think I have the proper ending for it. I think there should be more. Who knows? I still have yet to work on it, though, because there are a whole bunch of books that I actually do need to edit. I need to figure out which ones to work on first, though, because one of them I'm giving to my sister. So, I'm actually really looking forward to next week. But as far as doing the alternating books that I have been doing these past few months with The Rat Prophecy and Ashlyn's Dream Come True, which, by the way, we're done with Ashlyn's Dream Come True. So I'm trying to figure out if I should stick to the alternating books, or if I should just go ahead and go back to doing the lyrics and karaoke videos and stuff like that. Oh, God, goodness, it's been such a long time since I've done one. So I actually kind of have a feeling I know which song I want to do. So there is a chance there will be a karaoke video in a couple of weeks. Oh my gosh, I'm so psyched about that. So, oh man. I'm actually really glad that I'm doing this rather than doing just 2 videos. I mean, I probably should do some sort of Halloween surprise on Halloween Day, but I don't know. If I can't think of anything, I'll just probably do just like a quick little vlog and say Happy Halloween to you all, which is fine. Which I would be fine with. I don't know if you guys would be, but I did gain a subscriber this week. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. Or not this week, this past weekend. Man, that was so cool. I now have 149 subscribers. I really wish I had 200 by now, but I'm fine with that. And I've been a YouTuber for 8 years and I only have 149. Kind of disappointed, but at the same time, I'm not surprised, considering not very many people do book readings on YouTube. I'm sticking with it. I keep telling my sister that I'm disappointed about how many subscribers I have. And she's like, well, you need to do more recent stuff. You need to get people's attention. I know that, but I'm sticking with the book readings. So frustrating to keep up with the recent times. That's my problem, though. I don't keep an eye on society. I don't keep an eye on what's hip and what's now. I probably should get into that. Oh, man. Anyways, I suppose that is it for today. I suppose I will let you all go. So I guess I'm saying goodbye now, right? Okay, alright, I get it. I hope you all have a great morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world, everyone. I am the Esperanza 2 for 3, signing out. Bye!